God are at our beck and call. You know, the angels are just ministering servants to us, but they are servants of the eternal God, not our servants. So we can't order them around to do our bidding. They do His bidding. So our concept of angels, just as of Christ, is a wrong one. Hebrews 1:13, but to which of the angels said He at any time, sit on my right hand until I make thine enemies thy footstool? And verse 14, are they not all ministering spirits sent forth to minister for them who shall be heirs of salvation? So the angels just appeared as normal. Christ just appeared as normal. We're told, be careful that we entertain a stranger, because we might entertain an angel unawares. So you can see the point I'm making, that in the garden Christ was just like Adam and Eve. But on the other hand, Satan and his ministers appear as angels of light. Exactly the opposite way. Exactly, precisely the opposite way. 2 Corinthians 11:13, for such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Christ. Verse 14, 2 Corinthians 11, and no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Verse 15, therefore it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works. So this is the situation that confronted Eve. A glorious Satan in all his glory. And remember, he was the pinnacle of the creation of the eternal God. He was beautiful, and he was wise in everything that was good before he fell. You know, there's a direct link between the book of Genesis and Revelation. Genesis is the book of beginnings, all sorts of beginnings are in there. And Revelation is the closure. It finishes everything off. You know, we are called to eat of the tree of life. We are called to drink of the river of life. This is just to eat and drink Christ, so that Christ becomes an intrinsic part of our being. As it were, our daily food. It is Christ who is going to heal the nations and indeed the entire world. Revelation 22 verse 2, in the midst of the street of it, talking about the New Jerusalem, and on either side of the river was there the tree of life, which bare 12 manner of fruits, and yielded her fruit every month. And the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. Revelation 22:14, blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city. Revelation 22:17, and the Spirit and the bride say, come, and let him that heareth say, come, and let him that is athirst come. So Christ is the only giver of life in the entire universe. Now to choose Satan is to choose death. That is precisely what Christ said in Genesis 2:17. But of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it, for in the day that thou eatest thereof thou shalt surely die. Very clear. No difficult words there. Now Satan shrewdly starts his lies. Genesis 3:1, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, yea, hath God said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? But this wasn't just a little slimy steak. This was Satan we're talking about. He starts out as a serpent in Genesis, and by the time we reach Revelation, he has matured to the great dragon. Eve had not been told that she could not eat of every tree in the garden, but rather not to eat of the specific tree which was in the midst of the garden. And that tree was the tree of death. She could eat of the tree of life. That's why it was there. She could accept Christ. Then we wouldn't be in the mess we are today. But not blaming her, because we do the exact same thing. All of us do the same thing. So Genesis 3:2, and the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden. Eve does not mention the fact that there were two trees in the midst of the garden. She just focused on the one from which she wasn't allowed to eat. Now many teachers say that Eve added to what God had said. And that is why they say the first sin was that she lied. She enhanced what God said. And she did this when she said, neither shall ye touch it. Well, first of all, nowhere at all in the entire Bible are we told that Eve lied. That's the first problem. She was probably telling the absolute truth. But the Bible is written here a little, there a little. And all she did, the first statement, don't eat, yes. And she said, yes, we're not to eat, we're not even supposed to touch it. That actually is quite scriptural. So I don't believe for 1 minute that she lied. This is what she said, Genesis 3:3. But of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. Satan then concludes with his famous lie, ye shall not surely die. But God said you will die. It was a definite statement. As I've said so many times, lies and murder are mixed, closely linked together. That's why Satan is a liar and a murderer, John 8:44. He lied and Eve died. And from that moment on, everyone who ever lives dies as part of that generational curse. Genesis 3:4, the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. Satan then proceeded to explain the benefits of disobeying God and obeying him. Genesis 3 verse 5, for God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. So was Satan offering Eve the most superlative sex possible? No, he wasn't. He was offering her something far greater, much, much greater. In fact, it could not be higher if it was possible. Because just like he does today, he was offering her something he could not deliver. He was going to make her like God. Ye shall be as gods. That's what he said. He couldn't do it. But in fact, he was offering her the very same thing he had told his angels and he had told himself. He wanted to be the Most High. So these verses tell me that at the same time of his rebellion, he was not actually in heaven, okay? It seems that he was on earth, because he said, this is when he decided he wanted to be the Most High. He said, I will ascend into heaven. Therefore, if he says, I will ascend, he couldn't be there, could he? He makes it clear where he intends to ascend. And it was above the height of the clouds. So for it to be above the height of the clouds, he had to be on the earth.